The Raptors win a tight one over the Washington Wizards, 109-105. I'm Randy Urban, and this is Raptors Night Cap. Tonight, we're joined by Leo Rautins, Jack Armstrong, and Paul Jones. Jonesy, I'll start with you tonight. What did you think about the way the Raptors started? Offensively, I felt like they looked a bit frantic. I mean, it was great that they pulled it together, but offensively, I was a little bit worried off that start.
Yeah, it was a slow start, and I'm not sure what it is. We've seen some of these from this team over the course of the year. It's almost like they need to get punched first before they start to hit back. But I thought they did a good job in the middle two quarters, and then taking that 18-point lead in the fourth quarter. Jack and Leo, I had bad memories of. There were some games in Dallas. There was a game in Dallas where they had an 18-point lead and they let it go. There was a Golden State game where I don't know if you guys remember that night. They just couldn't shut the water off, but they did a good job. But to your point about the start, Randy, yeah, a little bit of a slow start. I just thought Washington came out with a little bit more jump, a little bit more energy. Washington was getting into the paint and scoring there. Toronto couldn't stop that, and they slowly turned it around midway into the second quarter.
Yeah. So, Jack, then how did they turn it around? Like, what changed for them Raptors there?
Well, I thought Scotty Barnes came back in and gave them what they needed from him, and that was a forceful effort inside around the basket. I thought having Gary Trent Jr. back in the lineup made some big threes early. His defense. They had three big plays defensively right at half court with the back over and backs. I just think in general that they started protecting the paint better. Washington did a good job getting the ball in the paint early. I thought they did a better job protecting it as they went along. And they picked up the second and third quarter, guys, their offense was awesome. And their defense. I mean, they just dominated the game in the second and third quarter. So they took it to another level. And I said it on the game tonight. You play Phoenix, Milwaukee, Miami, Dallas in the last 10 days. Those games make you better. And you can see it now, adding a Gary Trent Jr. back. Better competition, teaches us some lessons. I'll tell you what, guys, this team's not far off.
Yeah. Leo, your general thoughts there on how that shook out.
Well, the defense was horrendous in the first quarter and early second quarter. I mean, we showed some replays, and Jack made a point of seeing the ball, seeing the man. Nobody saw anything. Guys were just sleepwalking out there defensively, and you saw the points that Washington got in the paint as a result of that. But then everything switched around. The Raptors picked up their defense. They started scoring in the paint, and as a result of scoring in the paint, we always talk about inside out. All of a sudden, now the threes open up. So the game really turned around, and I agree with Jack and Jonesy. You look at this team; they're not far off. Once you have everybody consistently available to play, hopefully you get some bench guys that give you a little bit of something. But even having a Trent back and Scotty Barnes being more aggressive offensively, they're a different team. And when people are talking about the minutes, I'm not getting caught up in the minutes, man. If I'm a player, I want to play minutes. So, I think that everybody's looking for storylines, right? Everybody's, okay, they lost. Look at the minutes. Look at the minutes. You know what? If you're winning, nobody's talking about the minutes. If you've got players that, I mentioned this, that everybody talks about development, right? You got the G League guys and you got, the young guys and this and that. Well, development also is a factor for a Fred VanVleet, who's never been the guy that's got to run the show and be technically right now the franchise guy, and a Pascal Siakam stepping into this role of being one of the key guys, and he's got to maintain that consistency, and OG rising up to a new level. They're developing too, right? And so it's not just the end of the bench; it's developing. So how do you develop? You play, and Nick Nurse is letting them go. So there's a lot of positives to take forward, even from the losses on this trip.
Yeah, Leo, I couldn't agree with you more. There's a lot of chatter. All of a sudden, the minutes police have come out, and
yeah, I'm tired of that.
And I'll say this, Randy. My analogy is the coach that doesn't call the timeout in the middle of the second quarter when his team's down 10 and on the ropes, because he says, "I need that timeout for the end of the game." All right, you keep that timeout, and it'll do you a whole lot of good at the end of the game when you're down 20. And that's what people like. Oh, like you got to save minutes. Okay, sit them down and put guys who aren't playing well in the game and fall down by 25.
Yeah.
Then what? If you want to win, your best players have to play. And to Leo's point, they got to play the minutes. They do. And you worry about
Jonesy, nobody's getting up, and nobody's going to get up on a 6 a.m. to get on a commercial flight to fly to the next city.
No,
all right, guys, you have the best trainers, the best doctors, you have the best travel. The coaches aren't practicing guys to death, right? So you're talking about a few guys.
Hey, players aren't begging out of games. And Jack, Leo, we know, right? Like when you take a guy out, he doesn't want to come out. Doesn't matter if he's tired or not. Like he'll come out and say, okay, well, yeah, I'm getting a break. But they want to play. And if you're going to win, your best players need to play. That's a fact of it. And if you can get stuff off your bench, that's great. But if you can't, your best players have to be in the game.
You know, it's interesting. You look at the two areas of conflict pretty much in any sport, right? Time and touches.
Yeah.
So are guys and their agents calling GMs and owners and complaining behind the scenes to the media because the coach is making me shoot too much and the coach is making me play too much, or the other way around, right? I mean, and the long and short of it is Nick Nurse, his job, I understand is to develop, but that's on his name. You know, the one-loss record is on his name. And there's pride and there's a competitive spirit there. And Leo and Jonesy, you guys have coached. You understand what I'm talking about. You take that home with you. And to your point, you know, sooner or later, the same people that are saying, well, you need to spread the minutes out are now wanting you to be fired, you know, because you're not winning enough. So
but Jack, think about what you said. Think about development. Think about development, right? Okay, who's the big three in his team? Fred, Pascal, and OG.
Yeah.
Well, okay. How many times in their careers have they been the big three here in Toronto? This is it. This is it. This is your time.
Yep.
So how are you going to become the big three if you don't play and play heavy minutes and play together? So, I mean, when people talk about development, it's not just the guys at the end of the bench. And you're right. You know, Nick's going to do what he has to do to win. Rightfully so.
And can I make one last point?
Yeah.
The guys that Leo just mentioned, you know, Pascal, OG, and Fred, those guys have all developed in a winning program. You know, and you look at guys, look at Sacramento, and look at all these programs with guys, quite frankly, that were ranked higher, drafted higher, and yet they end up being busts as professionals. And to me, so much of it is winning. And for Scotty Barnes to really develop, he needs to be in a winning program. And you know what, tonight, in the first minute, he didn't do a few winning things. You know what happened? He came out of the game because there's a higher standard here than there is in Sacramento. In Sacramento, they'd let him play. Those bad habits develop, and he doesn't learn how to win, and your investment doesn't see its true realization, because instead of challenging guys and making guys accountable and challenging guys to win in a winning environment, and you guys know this, it's so important.
Yeah.
And guys, just as you're talking about this, I looked up the minutes. You know, of course, Fred's leading the league in 38, but then Harden's 37, Tatum's almost 37, LeBron's 37. Nobody really talks about them as, you know, they do a little bit with LeBron. But
I bet you before he got hurt, Randall, I bet you Kevin Durant was up there too.
Yeah. You got to play. Those are the best players in the league. They got to play.
Hey,
that's why their teams are winning, right?
The best players play. Home run hitters strike out. and shot blockers get dunked on.
Yeah,
if that's the other part of the coin. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, Leo, I wanted to ask you, what did you see from Barnes offensively that allowed him to get out of this shooting slump? Because he came in shooting like 33% his last 8.
Well, he wasn't shooting from 30 feet. He was shooting in the paint, right? I mean, you know, one of the things I love most about his game, he takes guys down low. He can finish with either hand. He gets them on their back. He's got a same size or smaller size matchup. He's taking them. And he does it against bigger guys too, impressively so. So I love his confidence when he's in the paint. As a matter of fact, I mean, I'd make a point of looking for him every game. And I don't know what happened when he got pulled out of the game early, But whatever Nick said to him and whatever Scotty figured out, he came in the game and he was like, give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball. And it makes a big difference because, okay, think about this team. Tell me who's a post-up guy in this team. Who are you going to throw the ball to back to the bat is going to get you something? They don't really have a guy. Pascal dabbles in it. OG dabbles in it. The bigs dabble in it. But this guy, Scotty Barnes, can do it consistently. So you need that. And once he started doing that, it opened it up. All of a sudden, now the threes open up, right? It opens up for everybody else. So he's one of the guys that can give you something you don't have a lot of. So I love the way he came in the game and played that way.
Mm-hmm. Jonesy, what did you think of his game?
I loved it. Look, I think there was a lot of chatter about the 3-point shot that Doncic made the other night. And it became a focal point, rightly or wrongly. A lot of people were talking about it. And then as Jack and Leo pointed out, things weren't going well early. So between that and whatever Nick said or whatever reminder was given to him from, I don't know, maybe an assistant coach that works with him, who knows? Somebody lit the fire and he started to get after it. And I mean, he saw Corey Kispert 3-4 times and there was no mistaking what he was doing. And that gives your team confidence too. It puts the other team on alert. You're scoring in the paint, as Leo said, the inside out. As much as people look at the numbers and the analytics, the best shot is still a layup. It's still a game that the closer to the basket you are, the easier it is to score. And I thought the Raptors and Scotty in particular did a lot of that in the first half to help set the tone.
Jack, real quick, I thought Trent, when he plays, he gives him a little bit of edge too, right? I saw him giving Harrell a little bit of his own medicine, clapping in his face. And I think they need a little bit more of that as well.
Well, they need him to eat up minutes. They need him to, he's a creative scorer at the end of the clock. He shot the ball pretty good tonight from 3 early on. And I just think he brings an energy level in terms of on the ball, off the ball, keeping the ball in front of him. I thought he did a great job late in the game defensively, and he gets you deflections and steals. So, they need him. It's really important to have him. And I think it makes everyone – they have 6 guys in double figures tonight. That's the 11th time this season.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys, great stuff as always. Going to stop you there. Thanks for doing the show. Next game for the Raptors is Sunday in Scotiabank Arena. Finally back from this road trip against the Portland Trail Blazers. Tip-off goes at 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you then.